Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Man United News live stream. And we're basically going to be talking about a few things today, not a lot, but we're going to be talking about stuff that everybody, is having questions about, and all of the news that have been going on in the media over the last couple of hours and all of that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as relates to Manchester United. So basically, as I said to you, there's a whole lot we need to try and cover, but there's still also not a lot that we can try to cover. Yeah. So maybe on today's show, we're going to be covering the news about the UAE Consortium holding or reportedly holding meetings for the purchase of Manchester United. And then the next one, another thing on the show we're going to talk about is Matheus Cunha opens up about the intense pressure playing for Manchester United. And then obviously we're going to also talk about the survey by the Athletic, the agent survey by the Athletic that reveals fascinating insights, but also, give you our own angle as with regards to the best and the worst transfers of the summer, to early predictions of Premier League champions and relegation candidates and all of that. So, yeah, like we always do, we don't want to just, see anything online and just react to it instantly without having to kind of do our own deep dives and our own research as to what the situation is at Manchester United and all of that. So yeah, sit back, relax, grab a popcorn, let's have this conversation and build a community, and also actually talk about it, and pop your questions in the comment section. Even if you're not watching this live, just pop your questions in the comment section and we will have conversations, and other people from community will basically talk about this and have conversations, and we can actually discuss it and stuff. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section as we talk, as we go, as we build, as we have conversations and everything. So yeah, so there's a whole lot going on. There is a whole lot going on, whether we like it or not. Manchester United always brings the news. Manchester United always comes, Manchester United always has, the clicks for these media houses and stuff. So, one of the news that we know basically is the takeover update, which we have so far. Takeover update. Now, I don't know if you guys can take this with a pinch of salt or take it with hook, line, and sinker, but I will not believe anything I see on social media or by the journalists until I actually see some movements going on. And I'll give you a context, and then I'll give you the entire news. Indikaila came out yesterday, same Indikaila, came out yesterday and says he has news, or they said they have news. Indikaila, just to give you a bit of an understanding of who they are, Indikaila News, an award-winning football account of 5 elite reporters, and they have around 681.5 thousand followers on X. So he came out yesterday and said, that there's news that's going to be dropping by 10 a.m. and all of that, and we have it on good authority that this and that. And he says, and then he came out again today and said, this was about maybe 6-7 hours ago, that our sources at Man United are reporting that United Arab Emirates-based consortium are meeting MUFC officials in London at 1 p.m. The UAE officials are very serious about purchasing the club, and the Glazers are open to all possibilities. Okay, now the overall news basically gathered from like all of the whole talk about the UAE-based consortium reportedly having talks, or have already held talks, is that the the UAE consortium meets Manchester United officials on potential sale. And this consortium held talks with Manchester United representatives in London today, right, to discuss acquiring the club from the Glazer family, who have owned the club for 20 years amid fan protests and mounting debt, which obviously is what the cry of the fans is. Now, Ineos maintains a 27.7% minority stake with, while multiple reports confirm that the consortium's serious intent, though the club has issued no official statement, the discussions come as United faces a challenging season and ongoing ownership uncertainties. Now, other news. This is according to Mark Bruce and Center Transfer. Sources say senior Manchester United figures are preparing for a decisive meeting today. The meeting has held, UAE-based consortium. And then I think every other thing that I see online with regards to this news is based off of Indikaila. Senior United figures. Do you guys even know how Takeover? So this is someone who is kind of breaking down the news and trying to tell us, we should be careful, we know what we see and stuff. But let me tell you this, and then when I tell you this, I'll tell you what I did in the last, I think in 3 days ago, when I talked about takeovers and what happens and how clubs approach it, especially with Man United and all of that. So this guy replied to that United Scope, Mark Bruce and Center Transfer saying, so Mark Bruce and Center Transfer said basically senior Manchester United sources, Man United figures are preparing for a decisive meeting today with the UAE-based consortium. Now, this guy comes out and replies, do you senior United figures, do you guys even know how takeovers and mergers happen? This guy is Abu Said, is Arabian monks, basically Manchester United fans in Saudi Arabia. And he says, do you know how takeovers and mergers happen? They don't include senior officials from the organization. Facts. Okay. They are done through the ownership, and these ownerships appoint experts and expert consultants or consultancy firms who move within a framework designed for them by ownership. When you see news like this, you try to remember when Manchester United owners, the Glazers at the time 2 years ago, wanted to sell, and it dragged on for a bit. They came up with news that they needed to sell or look for sponsors or alternative partnerships and stuff. And then there was a process in place, due process, vetting, as well as they did something with regards to appointing an agency or a consultancy to actually start the negotiation process and start working on the deal and vetting potential bidders and all of that. And then there was this whole bid back and forth and everything. So it won't come out like this. But I mean, Indikaila has had some hits and misses. But some United Joshua is saying Sir Jim Ratcliffe will just match whatever they offer and buy the club outright. Which is which brings me to what I was going to say after we read what Indikaila said. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe can, whether my United fans like it or not, buy this club outright. He just needs the right motivations to do it. He's already invested in the club. He's already invested over £300 million in the club, and he would not want to see his whole profits go to waste or his whole business go to waste. So he could buy the club outright, and I gave you different scenarios. Go watch our live stream, you see. I gave you different scenarios where Sir Jim Ratcliffe could buy this club outright. But obviously, we're going to keep our eyes and ears out to see all things that are going to happen with regards to that. Obviously, Manchester United fans want the Glazers out. It is what it is. Man United take over. Now, speaking of, there was something that was trending a few days ago on social media about the drag along clause and how it has been activated in August 2025. And I saw another news again that the drag along clause has not been activated, but will be activated February 2027. So I'm just kind of confused, man. There's a whole lot going on, but like I said to you guys, there's no smoke without fire. That's what I can say. There's no smoke without fire. So everybody that's reporting is just taking reports off of Indicala's news. So I can't see any confirmed reports with regards to that. So yeah, that's pretty much. There's nothing with regards to the confirmed reports. I just saw something from Fabrizio Romano from 2023 where he said, "Here we go. Sheikh Jassim has won the bid to sign Manchester United," but it is what it is. You can only make of it what you will. So yeah. Yes. We're going to talk about something else, but not this one is going to be in another video, and I just saw it now. I just remembered I was supposed to do it, but I'll prepare something in that regard. And Fabrizio Romano has reported it, and in his usual fashion, anything that bashes Man United, he takes full advantage. Let's talk about Matheus Cunha. Matheus Cunha has come out to say stuff about the pressures on playing for Manchester United and all of that. If there's anything on the takeover that I find online, I'll let you know, but then it is what it is. There's nothing ultimately credible that has come out about the takeover, apart from what you have seen from Indicala. But we shall see. And in Fabrizio Romano fashion, I will read out the entire news and then we'll analyze, and then I'll tell you about Fabrizio Romano's quote on this. So Matheus Cunha reveals that there's intense pressure at Manchester United after 2 months. Matheus Cunha Matheus Cunha reveals intense pressure at Manchester United after 2 months. Matheus Cunha, the £62.5 million signing from Wolves, shared in a global interview the heavy expectations he faces at Manchester United amid their poor start to the 25-26 Premier League season, where they sit. Yeah, the news is funny. Where they sit 15th? Really? After 8 games and only 2. Anyway, actually, Man United sit 10th, 3 wins after 7 games, but it is what it is. The 26-year-old Brazilian has no goals or assists in 7 appearances while adapting to Ruben Amorim's system. He isn't adapting. So, like I said, these guys will say anything to push a narrative. He isn't adapting. He played in that system at Wolves as one of the 10s, particularly the left 10. But whatever it is, Cunha was injured for 2 games in this season, but oh well. Cunha contrasted this with a strong international form for Brazil under Carlo Ancelotti, including a standout performance in a 5-0 friendly win over South Korea. Now, this is what Fabrizio Romano had to say. We're going to just be talking about all of Fabrizio Romano's posts on X. Matheus Cunha on his impact at Man United. It's only been 2 months, but it feels like I've been here for a long time because of the club's current situation. I have to get results as quickly as possible because I'm a big signing. And that is good to hear from someone who acknowledges his importance in the team and his role in the squad and all of that. Let's not take it for granted. Matheus Cunha has been a good player. He has been a good player for Man United. Just hasn't delivered. And he seems to be trying so hard to force things at Manchester United. And the truth is, we can't shy away from the fact that that is what is happening. But, you know, his impact at Man United is there, and there's still more to come. There's still more to come for him to deliver at Manchester United. Furthermore, Matheus Cunha said that being here now at Manchester United and in the national team is without a doubt a different level, a different moment as a player. I think because I play for Manchester United, people watch me more on the field. They understand how I play better. So basically, speaking on the pressures that he's faced and all of that, it's been 2 months and it feels like he's been here a long time considering the start that Manchester United have had in this season. But the fact that he acknowledges that he is a big signing, and he acknowledges that he has no excuses to deliver. He acknowledges that he has to deliver. He doesn't have a choice. He acknowledges that he needs to score goals and all of that. That is in the context of his position in the squad. Now, Matheus Cunha says, I think because I play for Man United, and people watch me more on the field, they understand how I play better. I think it's part of having the weight of being seen as a centre forward in Brazil, which is a privilege, but it's the weight comes after the Tokyo Olympics, and if I'm going to have that weight and be a champion, I think it's worth putting up with some of the confusion surrounding my playing situation. So he understands it, and the fact that he decides to acknowledge it is what is super amazing. He says I have to get results quickly as possible because I'm a big signing for Man United. I really appreciate players with self-awareness. You see, and I mean, this is basically an analysis from Martin Ball on X. He says, I really appreciate players with self-awareness. Just exactly what I was saying just now. You see that he's eager to score goals in every game because he knows he has responsibilities. I know sometimes it's frustrating because he looks selfish on the pitch, but he's always looking to step up, and that's a good sign. So pretty much straightforward on what Matheus Cunha has said. He has to get results quickly, and he understands he understands his role in the game and his role at Man United. There's also a response here saying, we understand that there's a lot of pressure, but don't push yourself too hard. Myself and at least 1,000 others still believe you are an impact signing, taking one step at a time, one game at a time, one goal assist at a time, one G at a time, one win at a time, one EPL trophy at a time. Pretty much straightforward, straight facts. So we don't need to talk further on this. He just came out and gave an honest opinion, and the guy is always super honest. He always talks about, you know, his role and everything. He also says, okay, furthermore, there's more on that. I try as much as possible to adapt, to learn, and it's only been 2 months and it feels like I've been here a long time. I have to get results quickly as soon as possible, as I'm a big signing. All of this helps a lot to find adaptation faster and feels as good as possible in the national team. So it is what it is. It's comparing his time in Brazil and comparing it with being at Man United and the pressure and everything, but it is what it is, and says it's a full-time responsibility to actually take on the responsibility of being a Manchester United player. It is what it is. We just have to build on it, and we just have to, you know, back our players and stuff. Speaking of, maybe let's just do some quick transfer news. Basically, just quick transfer news. Justin, this is according to Sports Pete. Sports Pete is Pete O'Rourke, transfer correspondent for Footy Insider 247, football writer, podcaster, DMs open, blah blah blah. He has 157,000 followers. Just in, Manchester United expected to sign a new goalkeeper in 2026 with Marc-Andre ter Stegen among the names. You can see my hand on my head. Signing a new goalkeeper for why? But it is what it is. Marc-Andre ter Stegen among the names on their list. So why did we sign Senad Lamans when... Yeah, why did we sign Senad Lamans? We have Redek Vitek as well. This it's all news. It's all rumors. Yeah. Let's move on. Now, like I said, he also, Matheus Cunha also tries to contrast his playing time at Man United with Brazil, where there's kind of like a little bit of freedom. It's like there's no telling with specific tactics and instructions, but yeah, it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section as we build towards that, and as we build towards the important news that we're seeing, you know, with time with regards to Manchester United and everything. Now to the survey. You know, when I saw that survey, when I saw that athletic report, I started to think to myself, what is actually going on? What do they have in mind with regards to their plans for why they put out such news, and why they put out such report, or why they carried out such a survey? And honestly, this image was what was trending. This image was trending, and And in the image, let me see if I can try to show you guys the image. Just give me one quick sec. Okay, now I'll show you the image. This image was trending with regards to the agents that believe that Sesko's move to Manchester United. Agents believe Sesko's move to Manchester United was the worst deal of the window. With 20 agents, when 20 agents were surveyed, some voted for more than one player. Sesko received the most votes. I don't know the rationale behind it. But let me know your thoughts and comments your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, because we need to talk about these things. We need to talk about what they're saying and how they've approached, talking about things like this. So I just thought to show you this image because it's trending, and you can see like Benjamin Sesko is number 1 with 6 votes, and then you can see a couple of other names. Even Conor Cody's at Wrexham, with 1 vote. Evan Ferguson 1 vote. We have Dango Ouattara 1 vote. Florian Wirtz 1. Like, there are so many ways to criticize this, but let's just leave it like that. So back to the conversation. So I did a deep dive into how they came about that and analyzed the article. Now, if you analyze the article alone based on that conversation with the worst signings and stuff, you will basically think that Manchester United had made a mistake signing Sesko. But if you analyze it from the perspective of the entire article, you try to now see where they're coming from with what they are saying. Now, let's talk about the article, because I did a deep dive on the article and I came up with my findings, right? My findings. And, it's worth saying, basically. The Summer Premier League, just give me one quick second. Now, from a Manchester, so I looked at the article from the Manchester United perspective. And when the agents were looking at or surveying or responding to the survey and all of that, obviously they can have a certain level of bias. But this is what we came up with. The Athletic survey provides a candid, critical assessment of Manchester United's summer transfer activity, placing the club squarely among the biggest disappointments of the window. We'll get to it. When viewed through the lens of top intermediaries whose job is to assess club competency, financial resilience, and negotiation leverage, United's strategy was seen as erratic, expensive, and ultimately incoherent. They are the ones that will tell us, because obviously Man United refused to attend to some of their requests and demands. Now, the agents' commentary reveals 3 core areas of failure for Manchester United in 2025 summer window: strategic vacuum, financial overpayment, and loss of control in player movements. Okay, if we're trying to weigh it from 2 sides, it kind of makes sense. We're trying to weigh it from player outgoings and player incomings. Yeah, it probably kind of makes sense. So the first part is the scrutiny of the worst window. And like I said, this kind of news gives them relief and happiness that it is Manchester United that they're slagging. First, Man United were granted 4 votes for the worst window of the summer. So of all the clubs that signed players this season, we had the worst window with 4 votes. This is bias, obviously, and it's 20 agents, mind you. So the sample size is not a lot, and it's all... Anyway, let's keep it going. This criticism was not based on individual player quality, but on perceived fundamental failure of strategic management, a feeling encapsulated by one agent's simple bafflement that the club somehow contrived not to sign a central midfielder, which is understandable. Doesn't mean that the window was worse, but just we didn't sign a central midfielder. That's okay, that's fine. Now, in the modern financial constrained Premier League, every acquisition and every non-acquisition is magnified. To enter the season with a glaring unaddressed squad deficiency suggests that the clubs suggest a major disconnect between the coaching staff's needs and the front office execution. The lack of strategic focus is precisely what agents look for, as it signals institutional weakness that can be exploited in negotiations. And if you look at it on the other side, they tried to negotiate and Man United didn't give them what they wanted, and then they had a bias against Manchester United. Let's call a spade a spade. But it is what it is. We have to just kind of move with it, because whatever they will say to slag Man United is what they will thrive on. Right. Now, they wanted to exploit Man United in negotiations. They wanted to exploit Man United in signing players. They wanted to exploit Man United in deals. But it didn't work because Man United refused to pay. Now, speaking further on the article, he says, a specific critique highlighted the strategic gap, right? The observation that United should have been signing João Palhinha, excuse me, who ultimately moved to Tottenham on loan. On loan. And if you check João Palhinha should be around 30. Just give me this quick one. João Palhinha, not discrediting him as a good player. He is a good player. He is a good player. But João Palhinha is exactly what I said. 30 years old. He is on loan at Tottenham from Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich also want to maximize whatever value they can get from João Palhinha. So the agent saying Man United should have been signed by João Palhinha, you agents will not be able to determine who Manchester United signs. Not discrediting the fact again that João Palhinha is a good player. I am not discrediting that at all. Now, we're going to start from checking transfer market and all of that, but simple Google search of his transfer value. He is worth around 30 million euros. It's like signing Casemiro again, but maybe a more athletic, better version, more defensive one, faster. But it's like signing Casemiro at 29, and then in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll need to now sign another player. Right? So when you think about it like that, it now makes sense why they will say what they said. But it is what it is. He is worth around 30 million euros, right? With various sources listing him between 29.4 million euros and 30 million euros as of June 2025. He's currently on loan at Tottenham from Bayern Munich with an option to buy. Now, if you say, okay, we got him on loan, it's a good deal, a quick deal, and stuff like that, that's fine, right? If you say that. But to now come and tell me that the agent said we should have been signing João Palhinha, then I have a problem with that take. Not saying that João Palhinha is not a good player. Please, don't get me wrong. João Palhinha is a good player. Okay? Now, let's go. Now, furthermore, these agents, just give me one quick sec. Yeah, one quick sec. Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I'm back now. So when you look at the João Palhinha situation, it gives you a sense of an idea of what is actually really going on in the market and what agents think about Manchester United. Now, speaking further on that, now the specific critique highlighted this strategic gap. The observation that United should have been signing João Palhinha, who ultimately moved to Tottenham. The agent suggested that Palhinha was probably not fashionable enough for Man United's taste. And that is what they thought. You know, like, the truth is, these guys come up with their own thoughts and their own analysis, a potent criticism suggesting that the club is still prioritizing the marketability or profile of player over his essential functional suitability, a move that undermines prudent squad building. Question is, Was Manchester United ever in for Japalina except for the rumors? I mean, we brought you some of those reports and those transfer rumors and stuff, and you could tell Manchester was never interested in signing Japalina. But obviously, it was in the market and it was a market opportunity, but we didn't take it and all of that. But he's 30 years old. Who knows what will happen after he turns 31, 32. We'll start again to start looking for another replacement. Doesn't make sense. So why don't we sign the next best thing? And we're solely focused on Carlos Baleba, which didn't materialize. But it is what it is. It's Manchester United, and it gives them joy to criticize a club that ruined their own childhood. Right. Now, the second one was the criticism of financial inefficiency, and that is the Sesko problem, according to them. Because like I said, the media buyers, the agents, and all of those people that don't like Man United, don't do anything, want to do any deals with Man United, will tell you whatever they want to tell you to slag Manchester United. So, the financial inefficiency, and that's the Sesko problem. While Donnarumma deal was lauded, while the Donnarumma deal was lauded for securing an elite asset at a minimal PSR impact cost, the signing of Benjamin Sesko for £73.6 million, including add-ons, became the focal point of United's financial mismanagement. That is what they tagged it in that report. Sesko's acquisition drew the most condemnation across the entire survey, with agents citing it as the worst deal of the window. This is where we're going to with this. You know, like I said, I don't just go into researches without having basically just to give you a sense of understanding of the image that they put out on social media. Sesko is tagged as the worst deal. What? Let's get to the end of the report and I'll ask a question. So, Sesko is tagged as the worst deal of the transfer window, but it is what it is. So, moving on to other things, I mean to that aspect which they tagged as financial mismanagement. Sesko's acquisition drew the most condemnation, as I said. The critique was harsh and direct. It was way too much money and much too soon, and a deal that was pressurized into making. Okay, this commentary is the antithesis of clever financial engineering. Now, in a market dominated by the need for PSR compliance and efficient capital deployment, paying a high guaranteed fee for an unproven developing asset is viewed as a significant strategic error. You called Benjamin Sesko an unproven asset. Florian Wirtz, just to give you another glance at this table, is down this table. Florian Wirtz is here with 1 vote. He's 22 years old, same 22-year-old as Benjamin Sesko. Alexander Isak, down this table as well. 26. Has scored 1 goal in as many appearances. In how many appearances? Not the worst, right? All good. What about Yohan Wissa? Barely got a start at Newcastle. Jadon Sancho on loan. Evan Ferguson, all the way in Roma. All of these players that have been mentioned on this list, guess what ties them to, as in what they have in common, the highest common factor or the lowest common denominator of these players in this list. They have all played in the Premier League. Benjamin Sesko is currently playing in the Premier League. James Trafford playing. All of them have played in Premier League one way or another. Evan Ferguson played in Premier League for Brighton. Anthony for Manchester United. Jimmy Gittens currently plays for Chelsea, and he's not played really well this season. His bet, even Garnacho was just signed for Chelsea, is putting Gittens on the bench. Estevao plays ahead of Gittens, but no, Benjamin Sesko, young talent who has a high ceiling, already playing for his national team at age 17, is now the worst signing. No problem. So, like I said, we keep moving, we keep analyzing the article because we need to do proper deep dive, so we don't have to just kind of summarize anything we see from social media, because if you take everything you see from social media, you're going to just misconstrue, and we don't do that here. We analyze it deep down, line by line and everything, right? Especially when we come live like this. So put your comments in the comment section and let me know your thoughts and feelings, so we can actually just have those conversations, and you can ask questions as well. So pretty much straightforward, right? Then we look at they called it a strategic error, significant strategic error, signing Benjamin Sesko for such a high fee, right? The agents recognized that the outlay created an enormous amortization burden on the club's books, limiting future flexibility, especially when the move was viewed as lacking much of a pedigree. So they've already kind of slagged Sesko. Now, the perception of being pressured, this is what this person said, is particularly damning, suggesting that United failed to deploy sophisticated negotiation tactics to optimize the terms of valuation of the transfer. Sophisticated negotiation tactics as how? Because if I remember correctly, Benjamin Sesko wasn't signed for £73.6 million as his guaranteed fee. It was, I think, £65 million guaranteed. £65 million guaranteed. The rest are in add-ons. And you say that's not sophisticated. Which striker? What about Newcastle, who signed Nick Votamade for 80-something million euros? What about Nick Votamade? What about Alexander Isak, that's going for £120 million? And then, if we talk about looking at strikers, right? Even Nick Votamade seems to even be putting, that's a 21-year-old, seems to even be putting Johan Wissa on the bench. Okay, think about it. If Benjamin Sesko was a Newcastle player, don't you think he would have still scored those goals that Nick Votamade has scored? But no, Benjamin Sesko is the worst signing. But it is what it is. The media will always do anything they want to get clicks. It is what it is, to get clicks, right? So furthermore, on the because they've already tagged Benjamin Sesko as lacking much of a pedigree, as well as not using negotiation tactics to optimize the valuation of the transfer. So we need a striker now. We've been able to negotiate the deal down to around £65 million. And then you said, no, we should use further tactics to negotiate the deal down. Considering that his market value and the stats that have shown that he's a good striker, with 2 goals already in 2 games, and has played in fact, only started the last 2 games, right? Actually, started the last 2 games, 2 or 3 games, 3 games, right? Now, because of that, it means that they have a perception, an external market perception, that United is often a soft target for selling clubs and aggressive intermediaries. This year, I think the Ineos group are trying as much as possible to reduce this fact where we seem to be negotiating for high prices. We don't give signings. I mean, look at how Mbumo's deal dragged out for too long. We don't give the clubs whatever they need and all of that. But it is what it is. Now, they have now talked about another one, which is the loss of control. That is kind of, they call it the Rashford mystery. You know, that's the part of the article that we're going to analyze with regards to loss of control. The dynamics surrounding player departures further suggested a loss of institutional control. Marcus Rashford's low move from Manchester United to Barcelona was deemed as one of the most surprising deals of the window. It was already on his way out. Amorim was not going to use him, so why keep him? But they called it a surprise. Everybody knew for weeks and months. But it is what it is. One agent admitted, he says, I just don't understand how on earth he pulled that move off, really. Thanks to his own agent, because you don't know what's going on. He was also part of the people that were seen as surplus requirement to the club because of their application last season. So what's the use keeping such a player in the squad when he can actually go out there and play free of the pressures of playing for Manchester United? But no, they have to maximize everything possible to say whatever they want to say. But that's their opinion, and I respect it. Now, it says this candid reaction highlights a situation where a player successfully executed a high, unexpected, and potentially, suboptimal move from the club's perspective. Such outcomes often stem from strained player-club relationships, which I just said just now, and a strategic failure by the club to manage the transfer narrative and contractual relationships, especially when facing the moral hazard issues where a player prioritizes his own interest. We don't want that in our team. We don't want that in our club. That's why we had to let Rashford go, so that there will be no, kind of downers left, right, and center. In another video, I'm going to talk about what Rashford said, and we're going to analyze it as well. I'm going to talk about most of the things that happened. He's come out with another quote or another thing, but we'll talk about it in another video. Furthermore, Manchester United are in discussions for a transfer. Manchester United was in discussions for the transfer of Nicholas Jackson, right, whose agent Ali Barat of Epic Sports was ultimately named as the agent on the window, operating in a competitive sphere of top-tier agents who are known to utilize every available resource, including competitive signaling and regulatory knowledge, to maximize their clients' value. Requires impeccable foresight and execution for the club. The inability to close on key targets while being criticized for overpaying on others suggests United's transfer team lacked the necessary sophistication to compete and in the complex negotiating landscape dominated by these elite intermediaries. Now, when we look at this, when one sees this, you think Manchester United just spent anyhow this transfer window. They were missing targets. They were not signing players. They were lacking control. Man United needed 5 players gone and 4 left. Man United needed 5 players who were causing problems in the team, gone. 5 players who didn't fit the system, gone. Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Anthony, Alejandro Garnacho, and Tara Malacia. And guess what? Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Tara Malacia, Anthony Dos Santos, and Garnacho have all left. Rashford to Barca. We all know that. Sancho, barely getting game time. Rashford, okay, one of Barca's best players, no doubt. Oh, they even let Rasmus Højlund go on loan too. So that's 5. Right? We wanted 5 players gone. We let 5 players go. But we had 6 on the list, innit? So you have Jadon Sancho, number 2, who basically has barely played. I think he's played only 3 games, and he's barely played, I think, 19 minutes, or there about 20 minutes, whatever the case, for Aston Villa. He's gone on loan. Could barely get playing time. He's on the bench. He's down the pecking order for play. In fact, they will put Daniel Mellon ahead of Jadon Sancho. They'll put Fulkrug ahead of Jadon Sancho. They'll put all these players, right, ahead of Jadon Sancho at Aston Villa. Then you have another player in Alejandro Garnacho. Goes there, benches their left wingers, all of them. Jamie Gittens, newly signed, even Esteval, right? These are players. Garnacho goes there and benches them. We sold him, I think, for £40 million. Then we have Rasmus Højlund, seen potentially as surplus to requirements, but the fact is they had to let him go as well, because obviously he's going to be in the same situation as Joshua Zirkzee is, but he's not as technical as Joshua Zirkzee. He started scoring and the media went ablaze with regards to how Rasmus Højlund is delivering for club and country. So we wanted 6 players gone, we let go of 5, and we are integrating Tara Malacia back into the squad. That's because we don't want a situation where these players being there will bring about negative energies or negative situations or negative whatever around the club. But no, they feel like they can say what they want to say because they believe that Manchester United did not give them what they want. That's what I would guess would be the reason why most of them gave those kinds of those kinds of reviews and stuff. But it is what it is. We have to just kind of make of it what we will. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to what the media wants the whole of United, what the media wants us to see. So again, we'll just analyze everybody on that list, and I'll give you my take on all of these things. You look at this report by the Athletic. This display says agents believe Sesko's move to Man United was the worst deal of the window, right? With 20 agents, and if you don't look at the content of the article, you will never understand why they said that. The content of the article says, why did we pay so much money for an unproven talent, like an unproven talent? That's what they called it. Now, why did we pay so much money for an unproven talent at Manchester United, and that we paid so much a high guaranteed fee for that player? I mean, think about it. Benjamin Sesko, number 1 on the list with 6 votes. James Trafford, what did James Trafford do to deserve that? Young goalkeeper, comes back home to his own club that he started with, and obviously gets put on the bench by Donnarumma. Do you think that he's supposed to, or he can bench Donnarumma? No. What about Jan Wissa? Has barely gotten playing time this season. Jadon Sancho, like I said, only 3 appearances with 115 minutes total. What about Facundo Buonanotte? Only plays the cup games, and once in a while comes in. He can't even bench Enzo Fernandez or even Kopama if Kopama is fit. He can't even what's his name? Reece James plays ahead of Facundo Buonanotte in that Chelsea lineup. You think about it, you ask yourself certain questions. Reece James, I'm talking about in the Chelsea lineup as an attacking midfielder. Facundo Buonanotte is an attacking midfielder, and he was signed from Leicester City. We move on to the next one. Evan Ferguson struggled with injuries, played at Brighton, struggled for playing time at Brighton, was seen as a potential target for Manchester United, went to Roma on loan. Done. Conor Cody, Wrexham. Conor Cody in Wrexham Championship right now. Conor Cody, has been playing well for Wolves and for all the teams I've watched him play. I think I've watched him even play for Everton, I believe. If Conor Cody, just put it in the comment section. Did he play for Everton? Conor Cody, West Ham, voted 1. Then you have Milos Kerkez, 1. Milos Kerkez is not even being trusted by what's his name? Arne Slot and Liverpool as left back. Sometimes he brings in Andy Robertson. What about, and he hasn't really even gelled into the team, but yeah, was signed for huge sums, but nobody's talking about that. What about Omari Hutchinson? Proven himself at the Premier League level and all that for Ipswich, comes in and seems seen as a good signing to replace Anthony Elanga, who went to Newcastle. Nottingham Forest. Omari Hutchinson. Jamie Gittens, unproven talent. Dortmund, you look at his stats in his years there. I think he's only scored last season. I think he only scored like 4 goals or 3 goals. Seen as a fast pacey player, but Premier League has been is not seen as a worst signing, or worst move, worst deal in the window. Maybe considering how much they signed him for. Number 1, he gets 1 vote. What about Anthony? That waited to the last minute to secure a deal to move to Real Betis. And in fact, if you look at it, the deal almost collapsed. In fact, at the point, I think I reported once that the deal collapsed. You have Anthony there. Now he's moved to Real Betis. Man United sold him, got money back from him, made a loss on him because he signed him for 100 million euros or 85 million pounds, as the case may be. What about Dango Ouattara? 1 vote still. Dango Ouattara has only scored 1 goal in the Premier League. It's a good deal. It looks like a good deal as well. I won't lie to you about that because it seems very athletic, but also very injury prone. Not very, but injury prone. Then we have Florian Wirtz, 009 or 007? 009. Yeah. Hasn't performed in the Premier League. Liverpool fans have said the Premier League is not for him. They've concluded as well. But he's not seen as the worst deal. Because obviously, Liverpool gave the agents what they wanted. Very straightforward fact. So this survey is biased. Then we have Alexander Isak. I don't see the point of the survey. Maybe because Athletic wants to do a bit of research. We have Alexander Isak. Not seen as the worst deal. Not seen as the worst deal. He went on protests. He went on protests. He said all sorts of things he wanted to say against his team. Newcastle fans hated him and everything. Managed to get to Liverpool and is unfit and barely gets playing time because Hugo Ekitike is putting him on the bench. But no, that's not what they'll focus. I'm not blaming the Athletic for putting out this article. I'm actually blaming the agents because this is absolutely, you can see, it's absolutely biased. And another thing I'll question this research on is the fact that it is basically the sample size for agents is too small, 20. That's not enough. That is not enough. Maybe they didn't widen the net because they didn't have so many agents to reach. But 20 agents is not enough. But it is what it is. They will always push what they want us to hear and see. And it's good that Man United fans are standing up. I can see online that Man United fans are providing support for Benjamin Sesko, because obviously you can't come up with these kinds of things and expect that Man United fans will just look at you and let it go. So they are providing support, some kind of support for Benjamin Sesko. Then, before we wrap this whole stream up, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you some other news that we've been seeing online, basically. This news came out yesterday. Manchester United contact Breno Biden's representative, Bidon, like B-I-D-O-N, Breno Biden's representatives for January transfer. Manchester United have initiated talks with the representative of 20-year-old Brazilian midfielder Breno Bidon from Corinthians to explore a potential January move amid the midfield rebuild under Ruben Amorim. The versatile prospect, who captains Brazil's under-20 team and has impressed in Serie A with over 90 senior appearances, also attracts interest from Manchester City and PSG, though Corinthians plan to retain him until 2026, at least 2026, unless a substantial offer arrives, backed by his 100 million euros release clause. United's approach aligns with their strategy of targeting South American talents, with initial offers possibly around 10 to 15 million euros. Then, furthermore, I think this is Jesse from JS Transfer Time. He says Manchester United have expressed strong interest in Breno Bidon, 20, the highly rated Corinthians midfielder. Initial contacts already made between the club and the player's entourage ahead of a potential January move, reports UOLE Sport. And then he says Bidon is currently valued around 13 to 15 million euros and is tied to Corinthians until December 2029 after signing a new long-term deal in January 2025. He is viewed as one of Brazil's brightest young midfielders, attracting attention from across Europe, with Napoli, AC Milan, Benfica and Barcelona all previously tracking his development. One to keep an eye on as Manchester United look to strengthen their midfield options with emerging South American talents. So, Breno Bidon, I won't tell you that I've watched him or I know what he's like or I know how he plays or anything. No. But I'll tell you for a fact that if Manchester United go for South American talents, for me that's a good thing. That's a good thing because in truth, Man United need to basically do what's right with getting the right talent for this team. In yesterday's news, we also had that Man United were interested in Adam Wharton, as they're keeping tabs on him and will consider him as a potential midfield signing for January. Then also, speaking further on transfer news for Manchester United, let's just give you like straightforward breakdowns and stuff. Now, speaking further on Manchester United news, Barcelona are ready to take up the option to make 27-year-old Marcus Rashford. That's Marcus Rashford's loan move from Manchester United, a permanent one, following his impressive start to the season, according to The Sun. Make of it what you will. Also, There are there's no major news with regards to Manchester United and transfers, but I'll tell you for a fact that Manchester United are basically the talk of the town. So let's round it up with maybe other news before we kind of close this end this stream and stuff like that. Let's quickly just run through the current news at Manchester United. Just give me one quick second. So that's pretty much what it is. As of today, Lisandro Martinez was out with an ACL injury in February. He's expected to return to full training this week and could potentially feature against Brighton on October 25th or Nottingham Forest on November 1. Following the injured wing-back Nusra Mazraoui, he's also expected to return after the international break. Manchester United has also relatively a clean bill of health going into the match against Liverpool, but it's also reported that Liverpool also having some injury concerns themselves. We'll do a match preview for the game, I think, in the next 2 days and all of that. This is according to London Evening Standard, basically. For Lisandro Martinez, it was said that a few days ago he went for a warm weather training at Dubai, I think, UAE, and all of that. So that's pretty much all on Lisandro Martinez injury update. Lisandro Martinez and Nusra Mazraoui. Marcus Rashford loan. Barcelona is reportedly planning to activate the purchase clause for next summer. Following the successful loan spell, he hasn't really gone 6 months in a loan, but it is what it is. And an impressive performance in the team's top goal contributor. Should we talk about this now? No. We'll talk about this in another video. Reports also include Rashford has expressed his dissatisfaction with an inconsistent environment at Manchester United. We'll talk about it and break it down further in another report. Now, with transfer, Manchester United reportedly interested in signing Crystal Palace Adam Wharton. As I said to you, though Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish insists that there's no pressure on them to sell. This always happens because Manchester United seems desperate to try to get a midfielder in. Surely in general, considering the absolute lack of midfield options we have in the squad. So basically, this sounds very familiar because Brian Mbeumo being wanted by Manchester United, their own chairman came out to say they are not under pressure to sell. Now, football transfers reports that Fabrizio Romano confirmed Manchester United's interest in Wharton, but he's also not going anywhere in January. So, yeah, that kind of ends the speculation, innit? Then, midfield overhaul. Following the likely departure of Casemiro next summer, United are expected to undertake a major midfield overhaul, and Manchester Evening News suggests that there's a need to reevaluate the midfield options and have identified an ideal target. The club has also approached Brazilian midfielder Breno Bidon, like I just said to you a few seconds ago. Then, with regards to other news, former Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea may consider a return to Old Trafford, which is a lie and a rumor, but it is what it is. Then, this one coming from nowhere, former Manchester United manager, ex-Manchester manager Rene Molestin, who was Sir Alex Ferguson's vice, has come out to say that he's criticizing the club for failing to sign Emiliano Martinez in the summer. It is what it is. Trust me, it's not a big deal. I didn't want Martinez. Many people didn't want Martinez, but it is what it is. So, that is what it is. Next game is against Liverpool on Sunday away, and then the return leg will be, the next game at home will be on October 25th against Brighton. So let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. We could go on and on talking about a whole lot of things, but let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section as we, build to the game against Liverpool. Build towards the game against Liverpool. What do you think about all the things we talked about today? The UAE-based consortium holding talks to Manchester United to buy Man United. We also talked about Matheus Cunha talking about the pressure at Man United. We also talked about the Athletics agent survey, which we did, where the Athletics surveyed 20 agents and, reached consensus about who was the worst signing and named Benjamin Sesko as the worst deal, basically, in the transfer window. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section about that. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. For those who have been supporting, thank you for your support. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye, and God bless.